Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Trend Talks BizSec. This is episode 40. I'm your host, Jon Clay, VP of Threat Intelligence at Trend Micro, and joining me is Greg Young, VP of Cybersecurity at Trend Micro. Greg, I think today we're just going to kind of do a free-form chat about what's going on in the cybersecurity industry. What's good, what's bad, what's coming up, what's working, what isn't working. I mean, you've obviously been in cybersecurity for many years, like myself, and we've seen things work and things not work, and we've seen a lot of new things coming into the industry, and we're certainly seeing that today with AI. But let's first talk about kind of what is not working in cybersecurity these days.
Confusion. We seem to have the confusion generator still running at a high speed, and that's not good for anybody. Technology moves ahead; it gets more complex, and the security of that is going to be more complex. But we should be doing the opposite of that. And there's a lot of really, trying to create new product names, renaming threat groups like you and I just discussed. This is not helping anybody. So we have to seek clarity, not more confusion.
Yeah, you hit the nail right there because one of the things that my pet peeve sort of in the industry is for years has been not a nomenclature of malware of actor groups, right? You got APT 37, and then the same group is called something by somebody else and another thing by somebody else. And we obviously are making it hard for our customers. Our customers are trying to figure out, well, which group is it? I don't know. Oh no, it's the same group. It's just named something differently. Well, here's a piece of malware. What do I detect it? I don't know. You got to have 15 different names of that same malware in order to identify if you're detecting it or not. So we obviously have made you said confusion, right? The confusion factor is huge in our industry, and somehow, some way, we've got to figure out how to get rid of that. And then obviously product names. Obviously, cybersecurity. There's massive numbers of products. There's a lot of organizations, 3,000 plus vendors out there. So it is difficult, and I think the company that can get through that and explain things simply to the customer or the prospect is the ones that might win moving forward. I mean, obviously it's tough, right?
Yeah, like in the military, we had NATO standard names for like the Soviet gear, so everybody called it a Foxbat if it was a MiG 25, and of course the nerds would go down the rabbit hole and say, well, it's a 25C2. It turns out that the other side is calling their stuff by five different names as well, so there's enough confusion. So just having a standard naming scheme that would go along ahead, and yeah, who cares who invented it? Nobody knows the name of the guy who came up with that standard NATO scheme, but that's what we call it. We all use the same names. Used to always tell customers to a Gartner, they'd be say, well, what is this? Always I said, forget the product names, just ask what market this fits in. And then it should all be clear. Like if it's a firewall, it's a firewall. If it's an EVP, that's what it is. And just kind of put the vendor name aside, remember the vendor name, remember the product class, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and that's a good point there. I think as a CISO, for example, get out of the minutia, bring it up a little bit higher level, talk to your vendors and ask them, what areas are you covering with your products? Could I potentially maybe consolidate a little bit more than I have in the past, maybe do some adjustments, but talk to me in just straight language. And what do you do? EPP, XDR, firewall. NDR. I mean, we got so many, and then the acronyms. I don't even get me started on acronyms. We had a whole book of acronyms at one point, and I think it's still growing. It's like a thesaurus now in order to understand what's going on.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, and it's remarkable too that you mentioned how much of the discussion is technology, and it used to be, when we talked to CISOs, it was about 70-80% tech and 20% business, and now frankly it's flipped over the last few years. And almost all the discussions I'm having, with the security leaders now is about not about the actual technology. They've got lots of people to handle that. Doesn't mean you're ignorant of it, but that's not what you should be spending your day doing. You can understand it, but your day is spent doing other things. And it's just remarkable how that change has happened. And it's not because, I enjoy things non-technology. It's just, that's the reality now. It's a real change conversation.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. So, shifting a little bit to what is working, I think the shift that we are moving towards, how can cybersecurity help the business move forward and be better prepared? We're talking risks now. We're talking more risk type of language than ever before. But again, that does cause some challenges because a lot of organizations don't understand that language yet. But they do understand that their business has to run and it has to continue to support their customers, and any kind of disruption in that can cause problems for that business. So I do like the fact that we're starting to talk more business language than we are, like you said, the technology language. You always will have that, and you have the people that are smart people inside that can manage that. But you have to understand how your business works, how your business runs, and what are the risks to that business and to your processes if something should happen. So I do like that we're shifting towards that. And again, this is where I think companies that can help give you that information much more clearly and succinctly are going to win in the moving forward.
Yeah, it used to be that security were the experts on risk, and we would like help the business. But clearly, over the decades, that's changed, and the conversations around the experts in risk now are the business. We've kind of lost our way as we got buried down in the technology side. It used to be we're the kings of risk assessment. We got buried down on the tech side, and now we're coming back to it. That's why this cyber risk quantification is so exciting for me, because it's this common language now, and we're not trying to tell them about tech. And we're not trying to have them tell us about financial statements. It's the middle ground of saying where technology meets business, and you've got to have a common language, and that's this cyber risk quantification. So I'm really excited about this because it's not a fad. It's actually something useful. It simplifies things, and it's really how business gets done.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's shifted a little bit is on the regulation side. It's going to be interesting to see where regulations go moving forward right now with some new things that have happened over the last several months. But we will see, security by regulation or security by design kind of thing. We'll see how that works out. But certainly, that's an area that I think you're going to see quite a bit of a shift in, and where organizations are going to look at, I got to go through the checklist and check off, and when you go through it all and you check everything, every box, you're saying I'm secure. No, that ain't going to work anymore. I think you're going to have to implement something different into your organization to be a little more prepared against the adversaries.
Yeah, like you, I'm not expecting more compliance to come in. I'm expecting more automation of compliance and more matching of attack surface to compliance to give a real sort of, instead of just a yes, no, some real granular, actionable information. And also the posture of your compliance. It's not a yes, no, green, red. It's a, on a scale of 1 to 100, how is our compliance? Are we close to being out of compliance? Are we going overboard on it? Are we duplicating things and losing money where we don't need to be? So that's what I think where the exciting around compliance right now is just automation matching with attack surface.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that will be a much help to a lot of organizations. Let's talk a little bit about the adversaries, Greg. Obviously, there's been a change a lot in the adversary stack, so to speak. The thing that I always talk about with folks is that we've been, like you and I have been in the industry for many years. We're very much better at our jobs today than we were 20 years ago. And a lot of these hackers that are out there have been doing hacking for 20, even 30 years now. They're a lot better at it than when they were first starting out as a script kiddie. And that's a challenge for us. And I think the other big shift we're seeing is the collaboration you're seeing inside the underground communities, where you're seeing specialized groups coming up to do one thing and one thing only. And then that they work with another group that does one thing only and another group that does one thing only. So they're getting better at what they're able to target an organization and actually do an effective campaign against an organization, and a successful one, as the headlines seem to read today. So that's obviously making it more difficult for us as defenders to deal with these adversaries.
Yeah, when an attacker can focus on a specific skill set and go deep on it, it's quite dangerous. So they have their own kind of supply chain that they've got going on now. So the optimism I bring to that is saying that if they have a supply chain, it can be attacked. So we look at those. If they're having to communicate with other groups, that's a point of vulnerability that we can attack now, or if they're moving money between them, that's a point we can attack. So you're right, though, they're more dangerous than ever, and you're the threat expert in trend. So I lean to you. I look to you for leadership on that, but I also look towards looking back and saying, right, where there's vulnerabilities, that's where we should be going after them.
Yeah, and one of the things I do look forward to seeing over the next year or 2 years is I think you're going to see more offensive by nation states. I think the nation states are going to get aggressive against a lot of these hacker groups around the world. I think you're going to see more sanctions on some of the regions of the world where they harbor these cyber criminals. Because I think the gloves are starting to come off, especially with the U.S., with the new administration. He's obviously showing that he means things and he's going to do things differently. And I think that could affect some of the different areas in with the adversaries and what they are doing. In the past, there's been very little to stop an adversary from continuing to do things. Some get arrested, but very few get arrested over the course. Not many sanctions get put on these regions where they harbor. Bulletproof hosters have been operating, easily out there in the world. I do think moving forward in the next couple of years, you're going to see a crackdown on this. So hopefully we'll see what happens. But as defenders, we have to get better as well. And one of the areas that I think we should chat about is AI. Where's AI going and how is it going to affect? I kind of think we are in an AI arms race in cybersecurity with many businesses, including ourselves at Trend here, investing heavily in AI, both with people and process and capability. So that's going to be interesting to see where it goes. You mentioned a couple of things earlier about where the defenses are going and shifting approach. AI definitely is going to get us there, I think.
Yeah, that's really, really good commentary. I think also what I found observed lately is that there's a real difference between who's deeply involved in AI and really developing it and who's kind of a tourist. And that sorting has happened pretty evidently. And these are not trivial investments. And there's a real commitment that this isn't something you can just bolt onto the side of your platform. This is something that has to be, part of the base ingredients of it now. So that's a real difference. And we're so dependent, though, also on what goes on with the general AI landscape. So yeah, we can go. I'm so optimistic about what's going on with AI and defenders, but it's so interesting right now to see what the uptake is going to be with general AI, and what's the AI market going to be? It's kind of been shaken up lately, so it's kind of taken a bit of the helium out of the balloon. But for defenders, no matter what, like we're all in on this, and they have to be. It's just going to make things so much better. But the products we secure and what's our user base, how much are they going to be using AI? That's a big question mark right now. Yeah. Moving ahead, but at what pace? So,
yeah, I think the biggest difference between just a couple of years ago and now is with the LLMs and the chat GPT type models and the chatbot model, where now you can actually have an AI expert looking over your shoulder while you're doing your work and supporting you. So you didn't have that before, right? You had to go and ask the person next to you who might be more of an expert in an area, and you say, and you would take up their time helping you. Now you're going to have an AI assistant that's going to be able to help you do your job more effectively, more efficiently. It may even take over some of the roles that you see today in cybersecurity. But that allows those people to move into more efficient roles, more higher level roles where a human can actually do good. But it is definitely changing things. And DeepSeek obviously came along and it threw a wrench in a lot of people's things. We're looking at that technology. How can we implement that technology into our stack? So I think if you're not AI first now, you're going to be AI last because
this expert versus
you have to do AI moving forward as an organization. We'll have some startups coming in, and that'll be interesting to see what they do in that place. Obviously DeepSeek was kind of a startup, and they blew the doors off some things. So we'll see how that shakes out in moving forward. But you're right. technology is technology, and compute's compute, and it's going to take time to see what happens. And quantum computing's been talked about forever and ever, and we're still probably 10 years from really seeing quantum computing do what it can do.
But it's coming. So yeah, regarding AI, it's just I think the startups are going to have a hard time though, because this, again, as I said, this has to be so baked in that for a startup to then be, it's not a typical tech tuck-in you can do. So I think they're going to be, it's a really tough, investor environment as it is right now for startups. So yeah, it's going to be hard. And it's so noisy. And plus the big guys are so invested in it. So yeah, it's,
well, and again, I think you think about the consolidation factor, right? Do I really want to bring on this new thing that could, I have to implement, I have to deal with it, I have to support it, or can I just, a lot of the bigger vendors are probably already looking at that type of stuff in their roadmap, and so you're right. I think it's going to be a difficult time for the startups, but I think there's also an opportunity for organizations to improve as well. So, I mean, like you said, you talk to CISOs a lot, Greg. If there are 2 to 3 things that a CISO should do today to help their organization move forward, what would you tell
them? Get a grip on the attack surface is number one. Number two is put half your effort into communicating with your board and management better or in different ways. You've probably got your inward downward communication and work going as well as you can. And yeah, you keep working on it 100%, but it's like working on your store, but never taking care of your customers. So, you've got to do some outreach. You've got to start getting that in, because also that's going to be changing all the time. And the last is getting that balance rate between the tech and the business, that you've got to juggle that and try to get some numbers, some metrics, and get some meaningful grip on what the real risks are. So if you're all about the Unix side of your house and your head's there, that there's going to be other parts of your business you're neglecting. So what else are you missing in security? And that's the stuff you've got to say, where's my blind spots? Find that and just start to get away from the tech top of it and put some numbers to it.
Yeah, those are great advice for the CISO. And I can't agree more with that. The only thing I would add on is that I think that as a CISO, you need to get with your key security vendors and talk to them, explain to them what you are doing as a business, where you need to go as your organization. They should be listening to you more. Like 90% of their effort is listening to you, the CISO, about your business and what you're doing and where you need to go. Then they need to tell you how they can help you do that. And that's the big difference, I think, today than you've seen in the past. Be fast, you just buy a product, throw it in, and let it go. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that's a great fourth recommendation. CISOs are so irradiated by vendor attention right now. They just clammed up completely, right? And naturally so. If you have somebody calling your phone every minute to try to sell you something, you're going to be a little hard to get a hold of. But it should be flip the script and you tell them your roadmap. Like vendor roadmap, yeah, fine, I've heard it. That's great. But I'm telling you my roadmap now. And I'm going to tell everybody about it. And I'm going to tell you where we're headed. I'm not going to be clammed up about it or just be surprising. Here's what we need. So if I need X in 1 year, I'm telling you now. And
and I think probably the biggest thing now is AI, because most businesses aren't going to understand AI. So, but they want to. They're going to have AI projects. Get with your security vendor to understand what is that AI project and how can they help secure that AI project so that you're not leaking data out to whoever it is. And that's a key area. And it's like the cloud a couple of years back. If you weren't talking to your security vendor about how to secure your cloud was going to be very insecure because it's new. You're going to make mistakes. AI is the same way right now. You're going to make mistakes with your AI programming and implementing AI in your organization. But a vendor who understands AI, uses AI themselves, can help you get to the point where that's going to be a lot more secure. So anyway, any last thoughts?
AI policy. Most people don't have them today. I probably get 1 out of 100 hands right now and go up in audiences who has them, but ask your vendor for them. And when you get one, share it with your vendors.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, everybody, thanks for joining us on Trend Talks BizSec, episode 40. Greg and I will be back in a couple of weeks to talk about another topic. Give us a like or give us a comment on what topic you'd like us to chat about. We'd love to hear from you. So, Greg, have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in person in Dallas. So.
Exactly. Join us. We're going to be doing our world tour, the Trend Micro World Tour show in Dallas coming up. You can go to trendmicro.com and you can find all the dates and cities. We'd love to see you there. Greg and I will be at a bunch of them. So everybody take care, stay safe out there, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.